module 2, where we're going to be learning user research, personas, and user flows. It's going to be an interesting one. We're going to be learning what user research is, persona, and user flow. Now, design starts with understanding, and understanding starts with listening. Design starts with understanding, and understanding starts with listening. A quick introduction. In this module, we'll dive deep into the heartbeat of product design, the user's mind. Forget that myth that great designers are lone geniuses who just come up with perfect designs. No, no, no. The real magic happens when we learn to see the world through the eyes of our users. We will explore how to carry out user research, how to bring personas to life, how to map journeys, and how to design product that resonate with the users, right? How to design product that are tailor-made for them, tailor-made for our users. So, like I said, this is lesson one, user research method. What is our learning objective for this module? Part one, actually, explain what user research is and why it is the secret weapon of great design. Differentiate between qualitative and quantitative research. Conduct a professional and unbiased interview. Recognize psychological traps that distort research results. Let's proceed. So, what is user research? You might ask. User research is like a detective, but instead of solving crimes, you're solving human problems. Does that sound interesting? You follow cues, which are human, which are user behaviors, interview witnesses, which are your target audience, and piece together a story about what they really need, the goal. In the previous course, we learned about design thinking process and we talked about empathy, ideas, right? Now, this whole research process, this is now the process of you empathizing with your user, right? In the previous course, we learned design thinking process, I empathize, define, ideate, prototype, then test, right? But now we are now going to learn how to really empathize, and this process is going to happen through user research. You must know to design something that feels like you read their mind. To design something that feels like you read their mind, but in reality, you just listen well. So, what this means is sometimes I feel like, oh, you design something that you're just reading their mind, like just coming up with great stuff, coming up with great features. No, it's because you listened. Listening is actually key to user research and to solving problem. Now, let me give a relatable analogy or real world example. Imagine a tailor who never measures their client. They just sew clothes based on experience. Sure, they might get lucky a few times, but most outfits won't fit. That's what building product without research is like. You are guessing instead of knowing, right? You can't just solve problem. Don't just assume that you know the user's problem or you know their needs, right? You have to interact with them. Remember, design thinking process, empathize. You have to empathize with them, you have to interact with them, you have to talk with them to know what their problem really is. Then you now begin to know how to define it and look for possible solutions. Let's proceed. So why does user research matter? Why is it important? Why can't I just assume that, oh, I know what the user needs and just proceed with it? No. Why it matters is save you costly mistakes. Just imagine investing millions of naira into a product that is based on assumption. You just feel like people need it. You know, I've worked with a team whereby we were coming up with a particular solution, and during the research phase, we discovered that what we wanted to solve wasn't really a problem, like it wasn't really necessary. We had to now change the scope of what we wanted to do. Like we now discovered the real problem. Why research, right? So it save you costly mistake. Just imagine investing millions of naira into a product, and at the end of the day it was based on an assumption and it failed, right? So user research is very, very key. User research is very, very key. Next is build product people actually. You build products people actually want. Sorry for that. Know what you think they want. You must learn as a designer, as a product designer. You don't work based on feelings, right? You work based on data, based on fact. You don't do things because you feel like doing it. Oh, I feel like using a red button. I feel like using red. I feel like using. No, you do things based on research, based on what your user needs, based on feedback from your survey or from your research that you've done. Then the next thing is create empathy, trust, and loyalty. When you interact with your users, when you carry out user research, your user will get to trust you. Empathy, this is literally putting yourself in the shoes of the user. They will trust you, right? Many of us, we trust our details with our mobile apps, our banking apps, right? Normally, if someone just come, give me your BVN and some of your personal details, you won't want to do such, right? But because you've come to an extent where you trust OP, you trust Kuda, you can just give them your details and that's it. So yeah, this is why it matters. Let's proceed. Some history snapshot. In 1980s, companies like Apple and IDEO embraced user-centered design. If you're an Apple user, right, iOS user, you realize that Apple is a user-centered design. Like, come to think of it, it seems like I'm not trying to throw shade at those who use Android or is I don't want to even start that argument right now. Is am I an iOS user or an Android user? No, I'm just trying to cite an example. Apple design is user centered, right? In the sense that everything is based on what the user want. That's why it feels like whatever you're thinking of, these guys are doing it for you. Like whatever you feel like oh should be in place is what they have on ground, right? So yeah, another one is in today's world, UX research is a standard job role. Entire team exists just to understand users before design even begin. That is to say that UX research is very, very key. In the previous course, I made you understand that UX is the research phase, right? Before you begin to move pixels, before you begin to blend colors, before you begin to add text, pictures, and everything, research must have gone into place, learning must have gone into place, study must have gone into place. In fact, it is the study that determines the kind of color you use. The study literally determines the nature of the UI, right? Just imagine from your research, you discover that this platform is going to be used by elderly people, people in their 60s, people in their 70s, 50s. You get, you now know that, oh, I can't just use a playful font. I have to use something that is bold, something that is clear. If normally you use 14 as font size, you could probably want to up it to like 16 because these guys, probably because of they are getting old, their vision is not as sharp as that of a 25 or 20-year-old guy or girl. So these are some history snapshots you should take note of. Then now we have types of research. There are actually more, but I'm just highlighting these two for us. We have qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is an in-depth insight into motivation, pain, and feelings of your user. An example is having one-on-one interview with your user, diary studies, field observation, right? This is qualitative. Then quantitative is data-driven insight, measuring trends and behavior. Example, online survey, web analytics. Let's just say, for example, how many people are still using a particular platform. This is based on quantity, based on numbers. Qualitative is how they feel, how they react to it, their perception about a particular platform, right? So let's proceed. Now, this part three, conducting interviews is getting interesting. Now, golden rule. You are not the star of the interview, the user is. So when you want to conduct an interview, you are no longer the boss there, right? You are just like a journalist, just trying to get a journal, right? Remember, you are like the detective who is in a crime scene trying to get an information, which is your target audience, if you can remember that instance I started with. So, yeah, take note of that. Let's proceed. So guides for user interview. Number one, plan with purpose. Know what you are trying to learn, right? Don't just randomly feel like, oh, I just want to do user interview. I feel like talking to somebody, I feel like having one-on-one conversation. No, there is a goal. You should have a target. Let me give you a practical example. I use detective, right? So let me continue with that analogy. So a detective, there's a crime scene. Two persons were probably murdered, you know, and that is the case they are trying to solve. Now that is the end point, that is the target. So whatever kind of question they ask in the crime scene or interview anybody, the goal is to know who committed the murder. Is that clear? Then now ask open-ended question. Tell me about yourself the last time. Not do you like. It shouldn't be a yes or no question. It should be a question that leads to an order, right? What do you think about this? Don't give them options. Let the floor be open in order for them to be able to give you details, right? Then the next is listen actively or listen actively, yeah? Silence often prompts deeper answers. Like you want to carry out an interview and you're the talkative. The user have just said one, you have said 10. That will literally be a failed interview, you know. Then, fourthly, note emotions and actions. When you ask them about a particular thing, how did they feel? How did they react? Oh, I find it hard to move right. Oh, God. This is empathy. You're trying to feel what the user feels, and it's key in user interview. So now some examples of open-ended questions, some questions you should ask in interviews. What's the most frustrating part about shopping online? So this could be in a situation whereby you want to solve a problem as regards online shopping, e-commerce and stuff. These are kind of questions you should ask. What made through your last experience booking a flight? You can see it's not um the last time you fly, was your flight okay or not? Yes or no? No. Even if you want to ask question in this manner, you should ask in a way, okay, if yes, what was, but most of the time it's not advisable to ask that way because you might not get enough. But when you ask, walk me through your last experience booking a flight, like if the experience was bad, they will give you full details. If it was good, they'll give you full details, right? Your user will give you full details. Now, if you could have a magic wand to fix one thing in this app, what would it be? Sounds, I just feel like someone should ask me this question with some platform because God, it's crazy. Really, really, really crazy. Yeah. But it is what it is. Now, psychological workouts or psychology workouts, social desirability bias. Users might tell you what makes sense. They look good, but not the truth, right? Users might tell you what makes sense to them, look good, but not the truth, right? So sometimes users might just tell you, um, they feel like this should be in place, that should be in place, but it might not really be it. Or that's why you're actually a professional. That's why you're a UX designer. That's why you are doing user research, right? That's why you're a product designer. Based on your professionality and your standpoint, you could now filter what is really true or what really works or not. Then the next is housing effect. Being watched can make people behave differently, right? That's maybe this could be with people who are shy, or sometimes you're interacting with somebody and you're talking to them. Probably maybe they just want to make you feel good or just want to let you just do your thing and just get out for you, right? And they might not give you what you really want or what you really expect. So these are some psychological watch out or psychological fact you should take note when carried out an interview. Then thirdly is confirmation bias. You might hear only what confirms your assumption. You know, have you ever made up your mind to do something and it seems like even when you are getting other opinions about that thing, it doesn't really matter. Like it's not making sense to you. It's just
You're just focused on what you want to get, right? Or what you want to hear. So this is what this is all about. At this point, we're done for discuss. I'll see you in part two. Thank you.